most of you have difficulties in understanding sociology.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, can you explain to me everything about social groups?
Sure, why not?
I am worried that most of you have difficulty understanding sociology.
Yes, Miss Paderes.
Anyway, can you explain to me everything about social groups?
Sure, why not? Let's start with the definition of social groups.
Let's talk about it. Let's start with the definition of social groups.
Every day we see ourselves around a lot of people. Every day we bond with our classmates or co-workers or family members, even with strangers. It is not only in real life though, as we also see ourselves immersed in our gadgets, interacting with people on different social media sites. A social aggregate is a collection of people who are in the same place but do not interact nor share similar characteristics. A social category, on the other hand, is a collection of people who share similar characteristics but do not interact with each other. What would you call a collection of people who share similar characteristics and interact with each other? Let us talk about social groups.
According to Emery S. Bogardos, a prominent American sociologist, a social group is a number of persons, two or more who have common objects of attention, who are stimulating to each other, who have common loyalty, and participate in related activities. A social group has been defined as two or more people who interact with one another, share similar characteristics, and collectively has sense of unity. A social group exhibits some degree of social cohesion and is more than a category or an aggregate. The characteristics shared by the members of a group may include interest, values, representation, ethnic or social background, and kinship ties.
A social group exhibits some degree of social cohesion and is more than a simple collection or aggregate of individuals, such as people waiting at a stop or people waiting in a line. Characteristics shared by members of a group may include interests, values, representations, ethnic or social background, and kinship ties. Kinship ties being a social bond based on common ancestry, marriage, or adaptation. In a similar vein, some researchers consider the defining characteristic of a group as social interaction. According to Dunbar's number, on average, people cannot maintain stable social relationship with more than 150 individuals.
Primary groups. According to Charles Horton Cooley, primary groups are small social groups whose members share personal and lasting relationships. People in these groups often spend a great amount of time together, engage in a wide range of activities, and feel that they know each other very well. A common example here is a family.
Secondary groups. As opposed to primary groups, secondary groups are large social groups that involve formal and institutional relationships. They usually involve weak emotional ties and have little personal knowledge of one another. Most of these groups are short-term, which begin and end without any significance.
Dyad. This is a social group with two members. Social interaction in this group is typically more intense than larger groups because neither member shares the other's attention with anyone else. A good example here would be a couple.
If dyad has two members, triad on the other hand has three. This group contains three relationships, uniting two of three people. A triad is more stable than dyad because one of them can act as mediator just in case the relationships of others two strains. However, people in this group are not as close as people in the dyad because one may need to be wary of the attention of the other while he or she talks with one of them.
Squad. A squad is a small group consisting of around 3 to 15 members who cooperate with one another to achieve a certain goal. This kind of group is commonly present in the military, as they needed to be grouped to carry out certain activities efficiently and immediately. Squad. A squad is a small group consisting of around 3 to 15 members who cooperate with one another to achieve a certain goal. This kind of group is commonly present in the military as they needed to be grouped to carry out certain activities efficiently and immediately.
Team. If a squad is relevant in military terminology, a team is relevant around the sports. This social group contains many members, even more members than a squad, that cooperates together to achieve a certain goal. You can see this kind of groups in team sports like basketball, which has 5 players on court, and volleyball, which has 6 players on court.
Formal group. A formal group is a social group where membership is defined. One needs to agree and fulfill the rules and regulations to become a member. A member's entry is written under rule, and cancellation of his or her membership may happen if he or she violates any rules or regulations. One good example of this is the United Nations, where nations need to abide to their rules and strive world peace to be a member.
Informal group. If a formal group needs a valid membership to participate in the interaction, an informal group does not need any defined membership to participate. In this group, participants have a freedom to join or leave the group. Such case is present in a group of friends or group of co-workers that are eating lunch together.
Reference group. The term reference group was introduced by Muzaffar Sharif, a sociologist, in his book, An Outline of Social Psychology. This kind of group is the group that serves as the point of reference in making choices and decisions in life. This can be seen in the group of people that we see in hashtag squad goals and certain cliques like that of tertiary.
Ethnic groups. An ethnic group is a group that has its cultural traits different from the general society. These groups are often in minority and value the culture that they inherited from their ancestors. They have strong social solidarity because of close and intense social interaction and have some traditions different from what we see as the norm. Some of the ethnic groups in the Philippines are the Igorot, Mangyan, Tiboli, Tausug, Maranao, among others.
Caste groups. This kind of group, prevalent in Indian and Pakistani societies, is a group that indicates a person's status through heredity alone. Just for a little recap in world history, a caste is a person's described status received after birth. In a caste group, only members of a same caste are grouped together and enjoy their own set of activities. A member of a caste may not participate to the activities of a different caste, especially if the different castes are of stark differences.
In his text Group Dynamics, Forsyth discusses several common characteristics of groups that can help define them. The first one is interaction. This group component varies greatly. Research by Mills determined that there are 2 main types of interactions. Relationship interactions, which are actions performed by group members that relate to or influence the emotional and interpersonal bonds within the group, and task interactions, which involves members organizing themselves and utilizing their skills and resources to achieve something. The second one is goals. Most groups have a reason for their existence. Groups can facilitate the achievement of these goals. The model divides group goals into 4 main types, which are generating, choosing, negotiating, and executing. They are further subcategorized into 2 categories. The first one is generating, where we come up with ideas and plans to reach goals. They are divided into planning tasks which generate plans and creativity tasks which generate ideas. The second one is choosing, where we select a solution. It is divided into intellective tasks which solve problems with correct answers, and decision-making tasks which decide on issues with no right answers. The third one is negotiating, where we arrange a solution to a problem. It is divided into cognitive conflict tasks which resolve conflict of viewpoint, and
mixed motive tasks, which resolve conflict of interest. The last but not the least is executing, which is the act of carrying out a task. It is divided into contests, battles, and competitive tasks where we resolve conflicts of power, and performance and psychomotor tasks where we execute performance tasks. The third characteristic of groups is interdependence. It is obvious that some groups are more interdependent than others. For example, a sports team would have a relatively high level of interdependence as compared to a group of people watching a movie at the movie theater. Also, interdependence may be mutual, which flows back and forth between members, or more linear or unilateral. For example, some group members may be more dependent on their boss than the boss is on each of the individuals. The fourth characteristic is structure. Group structure involves the emergence of regularities, norms, roles, and relations that form within a group over time. Roles involve the expected performance and conduct of people within the group depending on their status or position within the group. Norms are the ideas adopted by the group pertaining to acceptable and unacceptable conduct by members. Group structure is a very important part of a group. If people fail to meet their expectations within groups and fulfill their roles, they may not be accepted by the group or be accepted by other group members. The last but not the least characteristic of social groups is unity. When viewed holistically, a group is greater than the sum of its individual parts. When people speak of groups, they speak of the group as a whole, or an entity, rather than speaking of it in terms of individuals. For example, it would be said that the band played beautifully. Several factors play a part in this image of unity, including group cohesiveness and entitativity, which is the appearance of cohesion by outsiders.
Social groups are the foundation of society and culture. Most anthropologists believe that man started his life on earth by living together with other humans. This is because man has always been dependent on fellow beings for defense, food, and shelter. The satisfaction of various needs could only be done by cooperation among the people in the society. This help brought them into a social contract and became the foundation of social groups. But this didn't have that much of a significance until people extensively described urban street gangs in the 1920s and 1930s, extending up until the 1950s. The primary goal of gang members was to defend gang territory and to define and maintain the dominant structure within the gang. There remains in the popular media and urban law enforcement agencies an avid interest in gangs reflected in daily headlines which emphasize the criminal aspects of gang behavior. However, these studies and the continued interest have not improved the capacity to influence gang behavior or to reduce gang-related violence. This, however, developed the term mob mentality, which we now know as herd mentality. Since street gangs and mobs cannot do such impactful things if they are divided into individuals, it has been an interest of sociologists and social psychologists to examine their actions and what forms them. Why do some groups stick together through thick and thin, and other groups fall apart at the first hurdle? How do groups form and stay together? What is it that keeps a group of individuals in a coherent relationship, without everyone going their separate ways? We'll find more about social cohesion.
An excerpt from Dwayne Cloud's lesson transcript in study.com describes social cohesion as the set of characteristics that keep a group able to function as a unit. Social psychologists treat cohesion as a trait that combines with others in order to influence the way the group does things. Sociologists tend to look at cohesion as a structural issue. measuring how the interlocking parts of the whole group interact to allow the group to function. Social psychologist Muzaffar Sharif proposed to define a social unit as a number of individuals interacting with each other with respect to 1. Common motives and goals. 2. An accepted division of labor, that is roles. 3. Established status, social rank, dominance, relationships. 4. Accepted norms and values with reference to matters relevant to the group. 5. Development of accepted sanction, praise and punishment if and when norms were respected or violated. This definition is long and complex, but it is also precise. It succeeds at providing the researcher with the tools required to answer 3 important questions. 1. How is a group formed? 2. How does a group function? 3. How does one describe those social interactions that occur on the way to forming a group?
For a social group to be coherent together, an adequately functioning individual identity is necessary before an individual can function in a division of labor or role, and hence within a cohesive group. Coming to understand territorial and dominance behaviors may help to clarify the development, functioning, and productivity of groups.
Social identification approach and self-categorization theory. Explicitly contrasted against a social cohesion-based definition for social groups is the social identity perspective, which draws on insights made in social identity theory. In here, rather than defining a social group based on expressions of cohesive social relationships between individuals, the social identity model assumes that psychological group membership has primarily a perceptual or cognitive basis. It posits that the necessary and sufficient condition for individuals to act as group members is awareness of a common category membership, and that a social group can be usefully conceptualized as a number of individuals who have internalized the same social category membership as a component of their self-concept. While the roots of this approach to social groups had its foundation in social identity theory, more concerted exploration of these ideas occurred later in the form of social categorization theory. Whereas social identity theory was directed initially at the explanation of intergroup conflict in the absence of any conflict of interests, self-categorization theory was developed to explain how individuals come to perceive themselves as members of a group in the first place, and how this self-grouping process underlies and determines all problem subsequent aspects of group behavior. To see the following approaches into application, let us try to recreate what happened in the experiment conducted by Muzaffar and Caroline Sharif. In the rubber cave experiment in the 1950s, psychologists Muzaffar and Caroline Sharif divided a group of 12-year-old white middle-class boys at a summer camp into the Eagles and the Rattlers. Now, in the experiment, they used 2 groups with 12 white boys each. In our recreation, instead of using only boys and only white people, we asked the students in the lab school who wanted to be a part of the experiment to achieve a natural flow of it. The students who have volunteered are a girl group and a co-ed group. I then placed a staff member on each of the group. Before proceeding, we asked the children if they wanted to be a part of the documentary to let them know why we are recreating the experiment. Instead of spending days to recreate the experiment, I just devised a group activity that may represent what the experiment wants to prove. The group activity that I devised for them to do is to make a card tower, which is not something that the Eagles and the Rattlers would have done, I suppose. I demonstrated to them what will be the result, which I know they will not be able to do within a time limit of 10 minutes. Before we start, what have you observed or learned about the experiment? We now know different types of groups and knew the different studies about them. Now, how do these groups form? How do they last and transform into a more coherent or a less coherent group? The first step in group forming is recruitment.
Social groups acquire and renew their members via recruitment. This recruitment is not limited to those that you see in job hirings and in club fairs. In fact, it's what you always see in the newer social groups. In the initial stages of recruitment, the groups usually do not accept every applicant. One way to recruit members is by the proposal and recommendation of existing members. Another is by evaluating the new applicants by the existing members, as such case in job interviews. Some groups may choose to easily accept a lot of people, but only leave the efficient new members after probation.
The second step of group forming is development. After recruiting the members, a probable cause of events will follow. The members may start in a small scale by interacting with the person whom they share something in common to, i.e., interests, skills, etc. After building a stable and trustworthy relationship, they may temporarily jump from one set to another, but will eventually return to the initial group and somehow resist change. Their development seldom takes place without some conflict or disagreement. But most groups will struggle for the status, which can range from mild protests to serious conflicts and even violence. Sociologists may term these behaviors territorial behaviors and dominance behaviors. Depending on the pressure of the common goal and on the various skills of individuals, differentiations of leadership, dominance, or authority will develop. Once these relationships solidify, with their defined roles, norms, and sanctions, a productive group will have been established. Depending on the number of individuals in the original collection of strangers and the number of hangers-on that are tolerated, one or more competing groups of 10 or less may form, and the competition for territory and dominance will then also be manifested in the intergroup transactions. The last step of group forming is dispersal and transformation. After forming stable relationships within the sets, these sets may lead a group to its demise or transform it into a more coherent group. A dispersal of a group may be an effect of the wrong decisions chosen by the members of the group. There are numerous reasons for stable groups to malfunction or to disperse, but essentially this is because of loss of compliance with one or more elements of the definition of group provided by Sharif. The two most common causes of a malfunctioning group are the addition of too many individuals and the failure of the leader to enforce a common purpose, though malfunctions may occur due to a failure of any of the other elements, for example, a confusion of the status or of norms. On the other hand, a transformation of a group may be an effect of its people altering their status into a status that is altered by their members, usually for the better. This, as described in social transformation, happens when an individual in the group decides to alter the class culture to which they feel aligned. This they can do by associational embracement, associational distancing, and the distinct presentation of self. This, though, can only happen if an individual's social status is acknowledged by the other members of the group and that they successfully shift the collective consciousness of the society. The key concept is that the value and success of a group is obtained by each member maintaining a distinct, functioning identity in the minds of each of the members. The cognitive limit to the span of attention in individuals is often set at 7. Rapid shifting of attention can push the limit to about 10. After 10, subgroups will inevitably start to form with the attendant loss of purpose, dominance order, and individuality, with confusion of roles and rules.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. You know, Miss, I have heard the same thing too from Miss Paderes.
From who again?
From Miss Paderes.
Oh, really?
Thank you, Miss Paderes. You know, Miss, I have heard the same thing too from Miss De Guzman.
From who again?
From Miss De Guzman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, sister on the other side.
Wait, she's on the other side.